Well,
What's that? What do we got going?
I don't know. I just, a little rapid fire real estate questions, Q&A.
Oh, this is going to be tough. See my question. What's the wildest thing you've ever seen at the showing?
Oh, man.
Putting up a TikTok account. I've kind of held back on that one a little bit, but...
Doing dances or?
Yeah.
We're live?
All right.
We're doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, before we dive in, I'd like to introduce you, man, because this is the first time we're doing this. We've known each other for about, 18 years, something like that.
Yeah, let's see.
2006.
Yeah.
Well, let me take you back.
19.
Jeff Naylor, since 2004, he's guided homebuyers through the lending process with a focus on education, trust, and long-term success. For Jeff, your mortgage isn't just a loan, it's a core wealth building tool. He and his team align every mortgage to clients' broader financial goals, offering annual check-ins on home equity and market trends, plus access to a network of financial professionals. You're also a partner, you're also affiliated with the Portland Housing Center, where we've done a lot of deals together.
Yes.
You are a Northwest native and a former athlete. You bring a team's first mindset and a deep commitment to service. Welcome, Jeff.
Well, thank you, Javier.
Yeah, of course. Well,
yeah, and how about if I return the favor here?
All right.
So I'd like to introduce my friend Javier Alamia. He led the Alamia Group real estate for 20 years, closing over $450 million and handling more than 800 transactions across Oregon and Washington. Javier serves on the PMAR board and as trustee for the PMAR's RPAC. And since 2006, he's been a preferred broker and instructor at the Portland Housing Center. Along the way, he's earned top 1% agent and 5-star agent honors, been named one of Portland's 100 most influential agents, and ranked amongst the nation's top 100 NAREP Latino agents. He's fully bilingual in English and Spanish and holds degrees in economics and international business from UDLA in Quito, Ecuador. Welcome, Javier.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Well, I thought that we would take a time machine back to 2006, maybe, because I think this is more about, you and I, how we've known each other over the years and how it all started. And I'd like to remember that it was at a little branch on 122nd and Halsey in 2006.
Yeah. Yes.
So what brought you to that branch? Because I remember what brought me to that branch, but how did you land there?
So that's that's a good story. It's kind of, it goes back to, my originating story in this business. I don't know if you remember, but I used to work, my first job in this business was for a company called WealthBridge. Mm-hmm. And it was like a database telemarketing mortgage lender where we had, truly a boiler room. Yeah, if you remember that.
Like the movie, yeah.
Top level.
Giovanni Ribisi?
Yes, that was me.
Yeah.
So top level.
No poker tables, though.
No poker. Well, I don't know. The top level was a telemarketing department.
Okay.
So they had telemarketers dialing in 7 Western states.
Okay.
And then the bottom level was a bunch of cubicles full of originators, like myself. And so you could just hear, when you walked in there, you could hear people talking, you could hear people selling. The database telemarketers, they would call in those 7 Western states. They'd get somebody on the phone and try to pre-qualify them and see if they wanted to talk to a loan officer.
Yeah.
And so when somebody wanted to talk to a loan officer, they would send them down. That was like, early 2000s technology. We called it the bat phone. There was like a special ring that came when you knew you had somebody on the line that was hot and wanted to talk to you.
Like with a telegram or what?
No, it was like a special ring that lit up. Yeah. And so... And so when you saw that ring, like okay, it's time to sell. So awesome. At that time they'd be able to send down like that pre-qual, whatever they talked about on the phone. So you had a little something in front of you, so that what you were talking about, what that particular client's situation was. And so you said,
how did you make the jump to Remax? Because not Remax, we are equity.
Yeah. And so I was there, and I had a colleague that started working for Equity Home Mortgage, which was the in-house lender at Remax at the time. And she was in the West Hills. And we had a good relationship, and I just thought to myself, wow, what a great position, for somebody that's trying to get into this business, be inside one of the most successful real estate companies in the market.
Right.
and I'm living there and working with the realtors, and I'm able to talk to them at sales meetings and, just get them to like me every day, little by little, a little more. And so she got me an interview with, here's a great name that you're going to love and remember, Larry Sievers.
LS.
Yes. Just, I still can consider him one of the best people that I've met in this business. And one of my mentors, even though he doesn't have anything to do with mortgage, he taught me everything about the relationship between the agent and the lender in that kind of environment. So I got the interview with Larry, and Larry loved me. And then, I got the job, and next thing you know, I'm showing up 122nd.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I ever told you this story. I think I did. I landed there because I had been in real estate in 2004 in Miami, because I moved across country to start in real estate. My buddy started a company down there. I left everything, quit my job, and I drove down there. For whatever reason, that didn't work out. So when I came back to Portland, one of my good friends that I met in Ecuador, an American guy, had married the daughter of the president of RE/MAX at the time.
Oh, wow.
So at first I was starting to get into, I was trying to get into commercial real estate. So I
told me that.
So I interviewed I interviewed with all the offices downtown.
Right.
They offered you a salary, but you had to be a runner, right? You're basically doing, cold calls and running around with very little pay. But yeah, this guy told me that you should check out RE/MAX, and then, he pointed me in the right direction. I met Larry. I wore a suit for my interview the first time. I felt like a total, out of place. Yeah. But what actually attracted me to that branch was the fact that they were old timers.
Oh, yes.
So you could just feel the wisdom.
Average age 55.
55, yeah. Right. And we were both like mid-20s.
Yes.
Mid-20s.
I think I was. You're
a little older than me.
I was 28 maybe, and 28 or 29.
Maybe 26, yeah.
Yeah, so late, let's say late 20s.
Yeah. But yeah, that was great. So what attracted me to that office was just, and Larry was a teacher, I think, at his previous career.
Yeah. So
just his demeanor and how calm he was, and of course, he told me exactly what to do, and I did the exact opposite because, I'm not a cookie cutter kind of guy.
Yeah.
But he gave me great advice, and he pointed me in the right direction. So I love that office, man.
Yeah, he told me too. It's funny you say that about a suit. Is that he told me, because RE/MAX is an older company, and here I am. I'm supposed to be the guy. I'm supposed to be the money guy, and I'm 28 years old.
Right.
And these clients, they're all, the realtors are all, averaging.
You want to be their son.
55.
You want to be their favorite son.
Well, they who is going to trust me with their money? And that was the thing. He said, never wear jeans, wear a suit every day.
Did you also not tell me that somebody told you to never have a beard?
Yes.
look at us now.
I know. Hey, those were different times, man.
Right.
Yep.
And we live in Portland, by the way.
That's true.
Yeah.
Portland was different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we started playing hoops. How did that happen?
I remember the first time we played. Do you?
No.
So it was actually at Dawson Park. Do you remember that? Dawson Park is the park it's really close to Irving. It's a smaller park.
I remember that. Yeah.
And they got a nice Nike paved basketball court.
Right.
It's not big like Irving with all those courts. It's just one full court.
Right.
And you and I played there for the first time, but I knew you played basketball because you used to play at 24 Hour Fitness.
Right.
And we talked about it, and we watched basketball.
Right.
All the time. And so when we played, I remember one thing I specifically remember, I think, is that you were pushing some weight at that time, man. Like, that was the heaviest you've probably ever been, and you've been in great shape ever since you started playing basketball.
That's right. You got me on that train, man. But yeah, I mean, gosh, you are so much better than I am, man. We're actually champions where I'm from Ecuador. I don't know if anybody knows or cares.
You're a champion?
So we were high school champions.
Oh.
But I was benched for the entire year because even though I'm not that short for Ecuadorian standards, I wasn't that good. I got better over time, but yeah. And we had a really good team.
So you got better playing with me?
I got better, but you still kicked my ass.
Yeah, you got good over time. You even beat me like once or twice a year.
3-pointers, man. I can't believe it. This guy.
You had lungs though. You could just run and run and run, which is great, man. That I love playing basketball with you at lunch. It was kind of like, it was especially considering you and I was thinking about this earlier today. You and I were like neck and neck, right next to each other, going through this business through the financial meltdown.
Right.
Now, that was a different time.
That was a different time.
And we're going through something similar. We're going through something tough right now, but that time was like, it was scary because, we almost had the whole financial collapse of our, of our system,
Right.
And that came from the real estate sector, actually from the mortgage sector.
Right.
So that was, and that had kind of like a shock and awe impact, I think, on the public in regards to what we saw from a real estate activity perspective. People were kind of scared to buy, and the only things that were available were,
short sale foreclosures. Yeah.
And those transactions were tougher.
That was a tough 4-year span of time. I remember that, and I like to tell this story because I like to plug the Portland Housing Center. Yeah. My business was really niche at the beginning, from 2005 to 2008.
Yes.
95% of my clients were Spanish speaking. I really, leaned into my niche market because that was my strength. And then I started teaching classes over there, and they offer so many resources. So Portland Housing Center, just got to plug there. But you've also been a partner with them for a long time, and you taught classes but yeah, so
that's how we really started. I mean,
I
think we started working together, didn't it?
I think it was more because we had some mutual friends.
Grant High School.
We
had some Grant High.
That's right.
Common, yes.
Right.
Yeah. Facebook. We found out through Facebook, I think.
Yeah.
Because that's when Facebook first came out, and you could see who your friends were.
Right.
And so we were like,
wait a second.
And
right.
that was another topic of conversation. And, and at that time, all those people, they were first-time homebuyers.
Right.
Or second time. They're starting family.
28, 30 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think that over time, I think at first you want to make a referral to somebody that is going to have empathy with the other person. But I think over time, it's just quality, right? I mean, are you a good lender, and do you have good products to offer?
Yeah, so. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think in the Portland Housing Center, I think that was where we were both tested. And I love that. And that's one thing I love about you too, is that and that's where I think our businesses really aligned, is that you will take on any transaction, the toughest of the tough.
Yeah. I'll take the good ones too.
Yeah. Well, and I think I've kind of built my reputation on something similar.
Right.
Like I love the fact that I'm the one that you call when you got something that's on fire.
Yeah.
And I'll pick it up at 8 p.m. at night, and I'll be that calming voice to try to put that back together.
I think I just like the fact that I like a challenge, man. When somebody tells me it can't be done, or you can't find a house in this price range, or this person's being too difficult, I think that, at that point, it's not just about salesmanship, it's about service, right? And it's about, do you love what you do, right?
Yeah.
And otherwise, you're not trying your best.
I totally agree, man.
So,
and that's one thing that's cool, especially working through some of the clients that we got at the Portland Housing Center. Great people,
very educated. I mean, they offer so much education out there.
Yeah. Great people. They're already ready. They're educated, but sometimes they come with, they need credit repair. They need creative financing. They need more hand holding than maybe your average borrower, which is great. And sometimes that isn't appealing to some agents. They do want those gimmies, and they want, they don't want to work quite as hard on that client because maybe it's going to take up, a huge amount of their time.
Yeah.
And I never have felt that way with you. And that's kind of the way that I run my business too. Like I obviously some clients, they need a little bit more hand holding than others and may take a little bit more time, but I'm taking them all.
Yeah.
And I'm treating them all the same way, because they all want to get into a home. They all have the same, kind of end goals with their families. They all, it's all about, this great thing that we do with home ownership.
Yeah. Yeah. Why does our partnership still work? We've worked together for a long time. I think you are one of my oldest partnerships. I only work with a handful of lenders that I trust for obvious reasons. I've been around for a long time, so I have a name to keep. But you've got some really cool programs here at New American Funding.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I think our partnership has worked just because that trust factor is so strong.
Mm-hmm.
You got the trust factor, which is huge. I trust you with my clients. You trust me with yours. That's where the alignment is. That, you're going to get the best service. That, I'm going to be able to answer the phone, and I'm ready on weekends and nights to get those pre-approval letters out, or even working on that file if we have some troubleshooting to do. So that's kind of the trust that we've kind of built over time. You're going to get that from me. I know I'm going to get something similar from you. And then as our careers have moved on, and I think, what is it? Almost 20 years that we've worked together. We've been at different places. We've had our licenses in different areas, and I'm at New American Funding now, and one of the reasons I'm here is because there are some cool products that we offer. One thing we have a one pre-approved family already through the NAF Cash program.
Right. Yeah.
So that's one of my favorites. I could talk.
We have one together.
Yeah, I could talk about that all day. And I just closed one last week.
Yeah.
And what we do with the NAF Cash program is we pre-approve buyers, and they can come from any kind of situation. It works best, and I think we find the most value in it when that particular set of buyers has a home to sell.
Yeah.
Right. And no one loves a contingent buyer. A seller doesn't love it. It's a tougher transaction to get done, especially in a market that's a little tighter. And so with NAF Cash, what we can do is we can pre-approve them, and then we will actually buy them a home with our cash. You will represent us, as you know, as you've and show them show the listing side our cash and purchase the property, and then after we close, those clients will move into the home, and they'll basically be renters until you sell their home. Hopefully in the next 30 or 45 days or so.
Yeah.
When you sell their home, they'll take the proceeds that they get from that sale, and then I will do the final loan for them to purchase it back from NAF Cash.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you're doing what they would have loved to have done on the front end with a contingent purchase, except you have the power of cash at hand. So you may even be able to get a huge discount, on the offering price or
compete better.
You beat out 15 other offers because you have that strength, So it's crazy to think you can turn a contingent buyer into a cash buyer. I mean, it's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
So that's one of my favorites. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I went through the class the other day. And, it's I think you guys are one of the only ones that are offering it, right? So that's what she said, at least.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure what's most. I mean, it's kind of in that family, which people would call bridge loans,
right?
But it's not a bridge loan. It's most of the loans out there where people are buying without the contingency, they're getting some kind of bridge loan financing, and sometimes they can omit the debt on that departing residence, and that's kind of the key in all this, because that helps you buy anything you want that you qualify for. But I don't know anybody else that will do that and actually do it with a cash offer. Most people bridge over so that you have a contingent offer, or excuse me, a non-contingent offer. And we take that and we say, not just non-contingent, but here's the cash. So that's pretty unique. And that's something that we do well. We've done it for a while, and I think I've only been with New American Funding since August of last year. I think I've already done 5 of them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's powerful, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, a couple of them have been for contingent buyers that got bump notices.
Yeah.
And where they weren't initially approved with NAF Cash, but, here you go. We got 3 or 4 business days to get it done. And then we get it done and then remove that contingency and move forward with cash.
Yeah. Yeah, we got the email last week from one of the representatives of NAF Cash, and it literally showed a bank statement with all the cash in the bank to be able to make the pre-approval letter, because that's what we need as real estate agents ultimately to present that offer, right? A bank statement. So that was awesome. I called the clients and I told them how many millions we had to go spend. We're not gonna go that high.
Yeah. Well, you can go up to 2 million.
Oh, well,
I don't think for them specifically, but
that's right. That's
generally
that's the limit.
Yeah. So like you can use that program, and the max is 2 million. Can't go over that, but we can definitely do 2 million. Covers a lot in Portland.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah. So how long have you? Right now, initially when I met you, it was Javier, kind of like the solo agent. How long have you had the Alomia group?
Yeah, that's a good question. Not very creative with the name, because I just used my name.
It's a great name.
It's a great name.
Yeah, it's good branding.
Basically, I mean, I did things solo for 10 years.
Right.
Spreadsheet, myself with Remax. But gosh, it gets lonely, right? It does. I mean, obviously anybody wants to grow. So I got my first assistant, I think it was 2015.
Yes.
So it's been about 9 years,
Sure.
10 to 9 years. And then I got a buyer's agent, then I got another buyer's agent. I've had a few iterations of my team over the years, all the way up to, the summer of 2022 when the interest rates went from 3% to 7%. We went up to 8 agents. I think it was 7 agents and 1 staff. And then we're back to regrouping, and we're basically a family team. So it's myself, my wife, Yvette.
Yes.
It's my son, Christian, who does all my media stuff and my transaction stuff. And then my sister just joined my team months ago.
I can't wait to meet her, man. I've been hearing about your sister, so I look forward to meeting her. I saw that she was added onto the team, and I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, it was a shock to me. Yeah. I moved here 25 years ago, and then she moved here 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, so we are a family team, and obviously, we all want to grow. But I think these times are just, we want to be cautious too. The market's changed so much. Absolutely. Interest rates don't help, but I think that whoever's buying right now, they're capitalizing on locking in a good price. Yeah. And I think ultimately that's what matters, right? I mean, the interest rate's probably going to change. Probably not, I don't know if it's ever going to go down to, 3% anymore. But I think that, right now people are getting concessions. The inventory right now is at 3 months, which is pretty balanced, I would say.
5% is the new 3. That's kind of where we are.
Right. We need 5. We need a 5 in front of it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I just took like 5 listings over the last couple weeks, and we're getting buyer activity, we're getting seller activity. Some things are getting multiple offers. I think that, we went into a couple of offers a couple weeks ago. Yeah. Something got bid up by $200,000. So that's still happening for the right property, right? So that's what, if you're a seller, you really want to, dial down your property. It's got to be perfect. It's got to be painted. It's got to be staged. And if you're a buyer, I think your leverage is time. So, if something's been on the market for a couple of weeks, you got some concessions.
Yeah, I did. Did you see that reel I posted recently? I
love that Annabelle comes in and asks you questions, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, she's amazing.
That's genius, man.
Yeah, she's amazing. She loves it too. Yeah. Yeah, she loves it. And she loves it. She gets her little script and starts practicing, and the last one she had some spunk.
I think that you should continue that, because I think that that's how people remember you, right? Yeah. Especially social media. We can talk about social media some other time, but I think that people remember you for something. Yes. So if you can keep kind of the same format and kind of reinvent it, anyways.
That's definitely what we're trying to do. And so, Redfin, I think, had an article that came out late April, and it just talked about average concessions, on every transaction in the United States. It's like, 44% on average, second highest in history. Wow. But in our market, in the Northwest markets, actually, Seattle was number 1. I think Seattle, the concessions are like on 70% of transactions. Wow. And Portland, I think we're like the Portland metro area, I think we're about 62%. Yeah. So buyers, it's time.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah. You're going to get, price reductions. You're going to get closing costs.
We're going to get paid as buyer's agents.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. That brings another question. Yeah. So how has the NAR settlement been for you? Like how have you kind of made your way through all of that?
At first, over the years, when the pandemic hit, I was scared out of my mind. Market's going to fall out, but I'm not going to have a job. Do I have a job? But after 20 years, I think you become more resistant, right? So
change is constant.
In 2008, I was scared. In 2020 pandemic, who wasn't scared? Yeah. When this came along, I tried to take a different approach. I was like, I'm going to embrace the fact that things are changing. You can't go against the grain. Now we have AI. We can't. We have to embrace all these things. To be honest, it hasn't changed much. Yeah. With the current market,
commissions haven't changed,
and in some cases they've gone up. Yeah. So I think with current market conditions, as buyers are getting concessions, and now you could say that a buyer's agent is a concession because it's actually written as a concession in the contract. I've had no problems. I've got a little bit of pushback, but if I push back again, I'm usually able to get, whatever fee, it's negotiated.
That pushback you got was one. I think that was a transaction.
That's
working.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, right.
There's always somebody.
I think I told you we're not going to disclose any names, but when this first thing came out, I was like, I hope this doesn't happen when I'm representing a friend or somebody that I've known for a long time.
Yeah.
And this person I've known for a long time, and it lo and behold, it wasn't like a little pushback. It was like a zero pushback.
Yeah.
So
awkward pushback.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I pushed back again and it got resolved. So, I mean, to be honest, it hasn't changed much. I think the jury is still out to how that is going to impact the industry when the market shifts a little bit, more towards towards the seller.
Yeah. That'll definitely be interesting.
That'll be interesting. But at the end of the day, I think if you're offering a service, there has to be compensation for the listing side and for the buying side.
Totally agree.
Nobody will work for free. Maybe AI will at some point, but who knows?
They're trying to. Yep.
So getting into that, okay. So I think that's a new hot topic, right?
Yeah.
That was not on the page, but
right.
You and I have talked.
Yes, we have.
Ad nauseum about this.
Yes.
And we both have, some thoughts.
We both have. I think we both have fears.
Yeah.
It's all. I mean, I think.
Right.
I think for you and I, like, big companies have been trying to get into real estate for so long.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even when I started at Remax in 2006, we had discount brokers then. Mm-hmm. I think that's when Redfin kind of came about.
Yeah, 2007, I think.
That's when it started. And with me, there you can get a loan on the internet for next to nothing. It's because they're paying a bank teller to do the loan.
Right.
So that's why real estate agents most of the time are pretty scared of those pre-approvals, because the individual driving the car, is it?
I'm really scared of those approvals.
Yeah, isn't very trustworthy,
right.
and so that's where it goes back to. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I just have to say though,
sure.
that sometimes when I get those pre-approval letters, and I'm sure a lot of them are great, and I've had some good experiences. But, when you're submitting the offer and you're in a competitive situation, the listing side, looks at those pre-approvals.
Oh, yeah.
And they're also being like, oh, this is not a local lender. What was their underwriting process? Are we going to have a team member on the team to close this loan, right? So I think that from the listing side, from the buyer's side perspective, as a buyer's agent, obviously, I want to work with somebody that I know. From the listing side, I would say that, having a pre-approval letter for somebody local or a well-known entity, weighs heavy on the offer process.
Yeah, and that's one of the values that I try to give on every transaction. Like I love calling listing agents and talking about financing. It's part of that team effort that we give every time we write an offer. Now, how are you going to feel when the pre-approval letter on the other side is from AI?
Right.
What I mean, because basically AI is just with lending guidelines.
Well, it's so new.
It's all numbers. Yeah. So, it's going to be AI kind of looking through a rule set and making sure that everything fits inside that box. Are there going to be mistakes made? Are you going to be able to communicate on the other end? Is there, obviously there's going to be a loan officer,
right,
that's driving that. Are they going to be capable of leading? I mean, there's a lot of questions, but one thing we do know is that big business, big tech, they're trying to replace us.
Yeah, right.
Because there's a lot of money in real estate.
Yeah, but
I don't want it going to they want to get it, and they're trying to make things, although they haven't succeeded yet, but they're trying to make things cheaper.
Yeah.
And they're trying to make things more efficient. But everything that we've seen so far on that end is sloppy. Like the processes are sloppy. The customer service is sloppy.
But it's getting smarter and smarter every day. So.
Smarter, but is it better?
Right. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
On my side, at least for me, I think that my job as a real estate agent is so nuanced with emotion and empathy.
Yes.
That I don't think AI will have that, because you need a physical presence in front of you to be able to empathize with you and to listen to what you need as a consumer, especially as a real estate agent. And then, and obviously we can talk about this all day, but, AI cannot, it's not a physical body. You have to go to homes and you have to meet with contractors. You have to meet with inspectors. You have to meet with plumbers. You have to get under the sink. You have to assess situations in real life. That's the real job.
Yeah.
And the emotional connection that you have with your client. So
can it negotiate? Is it going to be able to negotiate?
It's gonna, but then negotiate. I mean, how do you pick up on, nonverbal cues? How do you pick up on that stuff?
Yeah. And how do you pick up on, for me, like on my end, like how do you really pick up on, that individual family's real financial goals?
Right.
Okay, here's your rule set. Here are the options. How can we guide you in the right direction?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's going to be able to come up with those options really fast and really cheap, but how, is it going to be the guide that family needs? And there isn't quite as much emotion on my end, but there's plenty of it.
I think there's a lot of emotion. People make financial decisions emotionally.
They do. I'd say you get more of the emotions because you're guiding them around. You're in their face more often.
Yeah.
Numbers, at least for me, I mean, I do get the emotions. Numbers are less emotional, I guess, than the physical side of housing.
Right.
The numbers are less emotional, but I still have to be an absolute rock at getting them through them because the emotion is spreading both ways.
Yeah.
And if you're not emotional about the physical home and some of those components,
right,
you're emotional about, maybe this payment doesn't fit in your budget and how do we get through this and how do we kind of search through those things. And so, yeah, definitely. The emotional side is something I think that you and I both kind of excel at too. So I hope we keep our jobs, for another 10, 15 years.
Yeah, no, I think we will.
10 years?
What's your retirement plan? We'll talk about that later. Yes. Well, I thought that just to make it a little bit more fun and have a little bit of just change the subject here, I wanted to play a game with you, Jeff.
All right.
Well,
what's that? What do we got going?
I don't know. I just, a little rapid fire real estate questions, Q&A.
Okay.
So, short answers, less than 5 seconds. You can ask me the first question.
Okay. This is going to be tough. See my question. What's the wildest thing you've ever seen at the showing?
Oh man. I didn't practice these. I actually think, what's the wildest thing? I showed a house, I think 10 years ago in North Portland, and it was the middle of the winter. And I think that the lights were out or somebody had stopped paying the electricity. So we went in, it was like 6 o'clock and it was kind of dark. We went upstairs into the attic and, oh my God, I saw a 8-foot hairy person, like just the shadow of it.
Bigfoot?
Like literally just the shadow of it because I could only make out the silhouette, right? Because it was like 6 p.m., whatever. And then I had a phone. I light up my phone up against it, and it was a Chewbacca mannequin almost.
Oh my goodness, dude. That is awesome.
I know.
Oh, the things you see in Portland.
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
When was that again?
Like 2012 or something like that.
See, Portland's always been Portland. I love it.
Yeah. All right, my turn.
Oh man.
Name one loan program you've dreamed of inventing, and what would you call it?
Oh man. I have never really dreamed of inventing a loan program.
But if you did,
it would be, I can't really tell you exactly, but it would be some form of, a cash type of program. Mm-hmm. Again, so that you could convert a pre-approval into a cash program, but with less strings attached.
Yeah.
Call it
the NAF Cash, Nailer Cash.
Capital the Keys or something.
Capital the Keys. All right, love it.
It's a good name.
Love it. All right, you're up.
Okay, Javier, what was your very first real estate sale, and what did you learn from it?
All right. So I also like to tell this story because I am the luckiest guy in the world. When you get into real estate, obviously, I tell all my people that first get started, don't expect to make any money for the first 6 months to a year. I mean, that's kind of a given. I started in Miami in 2004. I didn't make any money, like zero money the first 6 months. Then we flipped a few homes. We were investing at the time. And then when I signed up with RE/MAX with Larry Sievers, do you remember those call sheets they used to put in the front desk?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The call sheets. So my very first day, I put my name down, and I get a call 10 minutes later from a little old lady on 204th and Halsey that just wanted to sell her home for $154,000.
Oh,
20465 Northeast Halsey. I'll never forget that address.
that's great.
So I talked to Larry. I picked up the phone, talked to her. I was, I'm also trying to pretend to be a good, I could be your son. I could sell your house. I was there in 30 minutes, and I signed that listing agreement.
That's fantastic.
But that was wild. I mean, when does that happen? But it took me
Never.
like a year of like sharpening my toolbox.
Sure. That's cool.
Yeah.
I forgot about the call sheets.
Call sheets. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeff, if your business philosophy were an animal, which one would it be and why?
Oh, wow. My questions are very unique. My business philosophy, well, as it relates to what I do, let me just say as an animal, let's say it's an elephant.
Okay.
Because an elephant never forgets, and you can't forget your guidelines.
I love that. Love that.
All right. What's the worst piece of advice you ever got, and how did you survive it?
The worst piece of advice, let me think. The worst piece of advice that was given to me? Yeah. I think just, when I first got into the business, in 2005, I remember, and this was not Larry, this was somebody else. They gave me my desk, they gave me a phone and the phone book with the business, like I don't know what section it was. Who's looked at a phone book anymore?
It's been a while.
So, and I thought that, this was 2005. The internet's been around for a few years now. So I felt like it was dating back to 1999. I think at that point I was, I've always been quite contrary. So when somebody tells me, everybody's doing this thing, I'm always choosing sort of another path because there's a line of 100 people trying to do the same thing. So I think that was it. I mean, it was just like the basic, taking me back to the 90s.
Yeah, I've heard those stories before.
Yeah.
That same kind of a similar kind of real estate story. Like, here's the phone book, get to work.
Yeah. All right, Jeff, another interesting question for you.
All right.
Finish this sentence. My perfect Sunday starts with, and yes, coffee counts.
I'd say these days my perfect Sunday starts with coffee, my family, my wife and daughter, and if I'm going to expand, hopefully it's a sunny day, maybe a little nature walk, a little farmer's market, get 30 minutes of hoops at the gym.
Oh, hoops. I was going to say hoops.
Yeah. Get a little of that, get a little of that exercise. Luckily I still play basketball maybe 4 or 5 times a week. So
no, man.
Yeah.
I saw your video like a month ago. You shot 5 straight 3-pointers from half court.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I don't know how you do that.
All right. So Javier, what's the one spreadsheet mistake that still haunts you?
So I before real estate, I was a bookkeeper, so spreadsheets were my thing. So the spreadsheet story that still haunts me is that I kept spreadsheets for maybe too long. Now I have a CRM, right? But I was a master at spreadsheets. Spreadsheets are great, but they're not very automated. So, but yeah, I still love them though.
Yeah.
Do you use spreadsheets?
Yeah. I love spreadsheets. I mean, I'm like one of those that, even though everything is automated and everything's online, I love a good spreadsheet.
You can control it more.
Yeah, and I like lists, on spreadsheets. That's how I keep track of a lot of my daily tasks.
Yeah.
To this day, like I still mark my calls down and my tasks down through a spreadsheet, and
Nice.
I know there's fancy CRMs that you're supposed to use but I like my spreadsheet.
We're old school.
Yeah.
Now we're old.
Yeah.
We're here.
Very true, man. We're almost Remax age.
All right. Which client story makes you grin? Bonus for embarrassing details.
Oh man, so many clients, so many great clients. Let me think. That's a tough one. And I don't,
One of ours over the years.
embarrassing details is especially, and I don't know, like,
We can't say names.
yeah, and embarrassing details are unfortunately,
Can't disclose.
most of the embarrassing details for client stories with me are, during my younger years and, making mistakes through transactions,
Right.
that, that's what every real estate agent hates now. You get through 2 weeks into it. I just had the ability to fix them, like I had the ability to think outside the box to fix a lot of the mistakes I made and kind of communicate through them, instead of kind of running and hiding behind the phone. I think that's sometimes what a lot of lenders do. You got to own it and figure it out. So those don't make me grin as much. They remind me of stress.
Right.
That's what you want to stay away from these days, and make sure that you handle everything up front. And so grinning, man. I think one that comes to mind is one of our first clients that I think you and I thought we were pretty cool, because at the time, you remember my friend, good old Dale Acelar,
Yep.
was the GM at
Right.
Grand Central.
Yeah.
And so he gave us that VIP room,
Oh,
and
right.
we got to take some clients to like
That's
a
right, that's
client
right.
appreciation
Yeah,
thing
that's right.
upstairs.
Yeah.
And got the whole room to ourselves with our own server and all that.
Grand Central.
So that was fun, man. That was kind of like in the earlier stages of us when our careers started going
Yeah.
to that next level.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
Okay, if you had a megaphone to bust one home buying myth, what would it be and why?
I would say that I think people always ask me this. Like, people are always trying to time the market. What's the best time to buy? What's the best time to sell? There's no right answer for that. Timing the market is impossible. Time in the market, like doing it as soon as you can, and thinking long term, I think it's how you kind of demystify that myth. Because would you say that if you bought a home when you were 20 years old, you'd be better off financially than you bought when you were 30, right? That decade,
Just like any investment.
that decade,
Starter.
starter, right? So
Be a millionaire.
So I think the myth is more like a question that I get asked all the time. When is it the summer? Is it the winter? Is it, I think that it's when you're ready, when you're financially ready. Like, did you get a good job at that city? Do you want to stay there for more than 3 to 5 years? I think that's the right time. So
Yeah, but they say
timing it.
when is the best time to buy a home? It was last year. When's the second best time? Today.
Right.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Like you can never look back, but I think it's always a great time to buy.
Yeah.
Hard to time the market. So what do we got here?
All right, Jeff. Let's talk about retirement. In 10 years, when you are retired, what hobby do you hope to pick up?
Oh,
It's a layup for you. No pun intended.
Well, that hobby, that layup hobby is already there. You're going to be surprised, but maybe you won't, because I'm already. It's cooking, because I'm already like you've seen my when we did the remodel.
Oh, yeah.
That kitchen. Like, I love cooking. It is outside of basketball, it's my biggest stress reliever. It's one of the things that I love to study and learn. And it's more and more valuable because, just imagine, all that great food that we have at all these restaurants. We're in like one of the meccas of restaurants in the United States. So we eat great food. And so that, like, if you could make that at home, like, I've always kind of thought that, like, if you can do this at home with your own skill set without having to pay a markup, what a value that is. And so I've kind of been digging into that over the years. And I've even thought about doing something like that, like, doing some form of cooking, like, one kind of dish or two kinds of dishes at, and opening up maybe a couple days a week.
Yeah.
Maybe my fried chicken, which is one of the things that I make every Christmas for the family. But it's just, and also the second thing about cooking is that there's a lot of bad stuff in the food that we buy. you know, so you can't really trust where you're eating or what you're eating. So I know that when my family shops, my wife is really good about this, is that, you know, we get really, whole foods, all natural, organic, and so you could take those ingredients and make something special out of it that is healthy. It's, well, what's better than that?
I love it, man. Well, to wrap it up, I wanted to plug you again. Jeff, where do we find you on social media, website, like the whole thing? How does somebody get in touch with Jeff Naylor, the best loan officer in Portland?
Yeah, well, right. You can find me on all the socials. Like I'm at Naylor Home Loans. My website is naylorhomeloans.com. You can find me on Facebook, Naylor Home Loans for the same. And I'm just about to open up a TikTok account. I've kind of held back on that for a little bit, but
doing dances or
yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah, but now that I think that it appears that business is going to be around for a while, and it seems like there's the next wave of buyers is on there, and we gotta be reaching out to them.
And this will be on our socials too, long format and short.
Yeah,
we'll chop it up.
Yes, and you got it. So I'm just now also starting a YouTube channel. I haven't had one, but it's
nice.
So at Naylor Home Loans.
Awesome, dude.
Yeah. And let me see here, Javier. Where do we find you?
Well, right here with you. Javier Alamia, at Javier Alamia on Instagram and all the socials. And then I also have a business account, Alamia Group. That's also my website. So
nice,
buddy. Love you, man.
You too, man. This was great.
Great.